Have you ever seen a flying object in the shape of a cigar in the sky? Or Jesus Christ? You might say it could be an optical illusion. Welcome to the Top Facts channel, and in our new hour-long episode, you'll enjoy a compilation of videos featuring cigar-shaped objects in the sky, flying saucers, appearances of Jesus Christ, and much more. I hope you spend the next hour with maximum interest. Enjoy watching. Since we're talking about cigar-shaped UFOs today, let's start with a video that was recorded by an airplane passenger in the UK. His attention was caught by a glint in the air, and then the miracles began. The cigar in the sky began to change positions so quickly as if it was not flying, but teleporting. Try to explain. Up close, the object appears transparent, but as it moves, we see a cylinder. How is this even possible? I'd like to hear a word or two about this from official sources. We can't deny the video exists, and neither can a fantastically flying cigar. Another testimonial, this time from Spain, perhaps the clearest image of a cigar UFO yet. After many reports of a similar flying object, one patient searcher finally managed to capture it. Just look at how it is arranged. Now we can debunk the idea of hoaxes. Such objects have appeared many times in different parts of the planet. The cylinder stayed in front of the camera for a few minutes and began to descend vertically. The video cuts off at the most interesting point, but we've already got enough evidence, haven't we? 10 years ago, someone uploaded a video of a mysterious cylindrical object in the Ukrainian town of Korostin. The streak appeared in the sky in front of numerous witnesses, but only one person managed to make a quality video. Some speculated that it could have been a small airplane with a banner, but the object seemed solid and did not streak in the wind. Not much can be said about its true shape based on this footage. Any disc flying parallel to the horizon visually appears to be a flat strip. Before us is a terrifying video of yet another cigar UFO. It meticulously explores a Russian factory. The object looks like a well-developed military aviation, but it's not so easy for a foreign spy to sneak into Russian territory. It is quite reasonable to assume that the alien ship managed to do so. And if you look closely, you can see that its configuration seems to be divided into compartments. The eyewitnesses are also nervous. It's the first time they've seen such a device above the factory, and it's frightening, especially its lightning-fast disappearance. The most active volcano in Mexico, with the unpronounceable Indian name of Popocatépetl, has always been under close observation, and thanks to this, cameras recorded an amazing event. A white cylindrical object headed straight towards the volcano and ended up diving into its vent. This happened in the year 2020, while most citizens were sitting at home unable to witness the amazing phenomena. It wasn't even the UFO's journey to Mexico that is of great curiosity, but its plunge into the blazing lava. The most courageous enthusiasts declared that it was an attempt by the USA to cause a volcanic eruption. But then, what is the object and how was it controlled? I don't have any theories. Maybe you can give me a clue. We're going to end this issue with some quite mundane stories so that we don't remain captive to illusions. This episode is also filmed by an airplane passenger, but this time we observe an interesting effect. It seems that the airplane we see from the window is not moving, but frozen in the air. Have you ever experienced something like this? This phenomenon is called the parallax effect. When objects are moving at different speeds, the visual motion of one of them is not captured. In this case, the other airplane was quite close, so there was an illusion of its hovering. Sometimes the effect of deception of perception occurs when it seems to you that not a train is moving, but a platform. So don't believe your eyes. Physics sometimes jokes with us. But UFOs fly according to other principles, and these laws we have not studied yet. Let's get back to the most sensational story in aviation. Everyone remembers the infamous Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a Malaysia Airlines Boeing that traveled from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing in 2014, but disappeared without a trace. A decade later, its mystery is still unsolved, insurance sums have not been paid, and the search has met with dubious success. However, there is evidence that during his flight, he encountered a bunch of flying balloons that swarmed around him like bees. Judging by this video, the hypothesis looks like this. The plane continues to fly as if unaware of its fate, and at one point, suddenly, there is a semblance of an explosion. The plane disappears into a cloud. Many have expressed this opinion that it was abducted by aliens, and although the opinion is absurd, definitely, the theory is scary. Do you believe in this possibility? That someone could have stolen an entire flight from the sky? In 2008, citizens of Turkey captured a giant UFO flying overhead. Someone even managed to zoom in on the image and make this story for us. That this is definitely a UFO, I will not assure you, because there is no doubt. In most cases, UFO sightings are blurry, but here we can easily distinguish the hull and, with a little magnification, even peek into the lighted interior. Although we can't tell what's inside, it really is beautiful. We can fantasize about who is in there and what the interior of a perfect ship looks like. I don't know who could have expected an entire fleet of UFOs to fly over his head. This happened just a few weeks ago in Florida, and naturally, it scared a lot of people. Although many did not believe in the reality of this video, wrote that someone applied computer graphics. But it's natural to doubt the unbelievable. One thing puzzled me. If this really happened, wouldn't it have made the world news? It's not every day you see a flotilla of alien ships flying by so beautifully at sunset. It's not easy to scare the Russians, but this strange object seems to have managed to put a group of people in a stupor. At first they saw an incomprehensible structure hanging from the sky, from which soon smoke began to come out, and the shape began to change. The mysterious object opened its arms and began to expand. People thought that the UFO was trying to signal other ships in the area in this way. Maybe it was shot down? I don't know what it is, but perhaps you have a theory. Now, isn't that the most perfect UFO you've ever seen? It glides over the clouds as if it were an everyday occurrence. The people in the airplane flying by were frozen with terror. Whoever captured the video must have been shocked himself. If you include elementary logic, you will agree. Here, we see not an airship, and certainly not a balloon. The shape of this object reminds us of a double cone or a typical image of alien ships. We can only thank the passenger who did not lose his senses, but recorded for us the proof of daytime flights of UFOs on air routes. Maybe they have their own flight schedules too? Passengers aboard a flight from Denver noticed a strange object that looked like a sheet of plastic. It was floating parallel to the plane's movement, and if you think that's what garbage might look like, you're wrong. At an altitude of 10,000 meters, plywood doesn't fly, much less move at the speed of an airplane. Another surprising thing is that in a few seconds, the object changed its shape. It seemed to be completely flat. Maybe the leaf was following the air trail of another airplane, carried away by the powerful flow of the airtail. But then, I don't understand how the transformation works, this shape-shifting trick. What do you think of it? More and more pilots are sharing stories of strange objects they encounter in the sky during their flights and capturing them on video. Here's another amazing story. Before you ask how it was filmed, I will say, the camera was mounted on the fuselage. The UFO acted as if it was also inspecting the airplane, which explains its constant presence in the frame. But if you remember that both objects were in flight at a tremendous speed, it's not like they were hanging in the sky. Then imagine that the UFO had to drive the airplane like a fighter jet. Suddenly, the scene is interrupted by some interference. It is unclear what appeared in the sky, but it looks like a trickery on the part of the UFO. It's as if it's used a distraction, like a squid throwing out an ink cloud to make a quick getaway. There's a legend that there's some sort of mothership, a huge alien station. But has anyone seen it in real life? Look at what the helicopter crew managed to capture in the night sky. No matter how you look at it, it's clear that this ship is not of our making. Again, the thought of an airship arose, but the speed at which this luminous object was moving was never dreamed of by aircraft of 20th century invention. A modern helicopter could not keep up with it. You can also cite the government's secret experiments. They have the money to do it, after all. But is it so hard to reconcile with the assumption that there is other life beyond Earth? Imagine you're driving down the highway at high speed and an obscure, cylindrical-shaped object flies parallel to you in the sky. It turns out you're rushing in the same direction. This is exactly what happened in 2020 in Florida, and it's safe to say that most people didn't even know what was going on around them. Remember, at the time, many were on lockdown in their homes. That's why the story was not taken seriously. One comment about the blimp and the same flat jokes, zero, that's all that the clip was rewarded with on the net. And if you imagine the scale of the incident, while you and I were sitting in apartments during the pandemic, the crowds of UFOs were moving freely across our expanses. In 2022, residents of Pakistan noticed something black in the sky above Islamabad. The mysterious object was caught on cameras by several dozen eyewitnesses. For 13 minutes, the UFO hovered in the air and was clearly recognizable as a dark flying object shaped like a truffle. Most people were sure that it was not a drone because it would not have been possible for the device to stay at such an altitude for long. Looking at the enlarged image, we can state that the UFO had a triangular shape, and also intuition. As soon as there were too many witnesses, the object simply disappeared from view. We're still in Pakistan. A team of pilots aboard a small airplane recorded a mysterious white ball. It could have been mistaken for the moon, but the bright object was moving, and quite fast. It is difficult to estimate its trajectory, but in front of us is clearly not a celestial luminary, and the movement of an incomprehensible luminous point. Something to ponder. Is it just me, or did something fly past a flotilla of military aircraft? Let's repeat it as many times as necessary to make sure, yes, there is a foreign flying object. This incident happened during the annual Fleet Week in the USAF, when the jets were doing a demonstration flight. A split second, and the light disc that flew between them might have gone unnoticed if it weren't for the cameras recording the show. Just consider how fast the planes were going, and then you'll be puzzled as to how some unidentified object flew a fly among them. How did it calculate its trajectory at that speed? You can repeat this video over and over again until your brain stops refusing to believe. There are much faster ships in the universe than Earth fighters. What if they are extraterrestrial hawks? The main thing is that their targets should not be turned against the Earthlings. This UFO was caught on camera somewhere in Russia and attracted a lot of attention on the internet. At first, most skeptical people wrote it off as a drone. Allegedly, Someone decided to make it look like a UFO and dressed it up with a special design. But the more we see, the clearer it becomes that the design contains no propellers or other engines. What does it actually fly on then? Plus, the object is critically low to the ground and behaves as if it's struggling to stay airborne. And this is happening in broad daylight. What if the UFO was damaged and on the verge of crashing? There's no ending to the video. This strange creature was flying over Brazil and was caught on camera by an eyewitness. It looks like a figure in a suit with a jetpack, but we would have been speculating for a long time if the following hadn't happened. Suddenly flames erupted and the creature or object disappeared lightning fast over the mountains. We are left to wonder what kind of miracle technique allows us to move in space like that. And also, is it someone or something after all? The ring glowing in the hazy sky really does look like the bottom of a spaceship about to land, doesn't it? The footage is recorded in China. A man just went to get groceries and found a real threat to the planet in the sky. The giant halo hung in the sky for a long time, confusing the citizens. They hypothesized that this could be the appearance of an experimental secret airship or a meteorological phenomenon. But no explanation was never given in the media. Do you think it's an optical illusion or the real outline of something unknown to us? Have you seen triangular clouds? I haven't, and neither did this man. He started recording video after he looked out of his window and saw this thing in the sky. Sticking out of the water like a shark fin, the triangular-shaped object was stuck in a cloud and hovering motionless. It was clear that it was neither a fog blob nor a banner in the air. Such outlines, by the way, and previously noticed in many places in the world. But so clear they were filmed for the first time. Could this be an alien station which is camouflaged in the clouds? If so, imagine how big this thing can get. In 2013, a passenger on an airplane flying over Atlanta spotted a group of 3 lights. And in the 10 years that the video has been online, it hasn't sparked any attacks or controversy. The trio was moving in a strange rhythm, as if their aerial dance was planned. You'll agree, it's not like ball lightning or drones. They don't fly at that altitude. I thought already that it was a trick of reflecting in the porthole some light from inside the cabin, but I couldn't think of what could have been a glowing triangle in the airplane. I'd have to accept that they were unknown lights that moved with a set trajectory and traveled through the air on the flight path. In one country alone, people have seen UFOs numerous times this year. A huge number of reports of different flying devices and objects have come from the United States. Now, we're going to take a look at one clip taken at dusk. The UFOs have already turned on their dipped lights, and there was a feeling that they were also looking for a convenient parking spot. A yachtsman spotted a fleet of bright lights over the coast of North Carolina in the USA. It was something mysterious, clearly not a group of flares. The lights huddled together and hung in the air like a garland in the sky in the middle of the ocean. Yes, the Eyewitness was quite far from shore, and the lights stayed there for a long time. There is no one to ask in such a place, you understand, and it is unlikely that anyone would explain such a phenomenon. A few months ago, passengers on a flight to the US anonymously posted this video. In the night sky suddenly appeared a bright flash, which scared everyone half to death. They were sure that in front of them aliens in an aggressive mood. Assuming that at that moment a rocket was launched into the sky nearby, it sounds absurd. Spaceports are outside the flight zones of civil aviation, and certainly no rocket would fly into the space where airplanes could be. I would rather believe that it was the launch of an alien ship before a long expedition. When something brightly colored flies by a pilot quickly, he will willy-nilly switch his focus of attention from his airplane to the distracting object. In this video, A brightly colored UFO whizzed by the plane and suddenly went aloft at an incredible speed, leaving us puzzled. Maybe the aliens urgently needed to get home. Did they forget to turn off some dangerous devices? Why the rush? New Jersey residents recently filmed a UFO hovering over the city. We can see not footage from the sky, which is easier to fabricate, but a real city street with people and cars, and a saucer-shaped UFO hanging in the sky, the center of which is brightly lit with lights of incredible power. It looked like it was viewing the neighborhood, and this light was for something. People were scared. What if it was an open hatch through which something could be taken from Earth? Then the light went out. I guess everyone exhaled a bit, but the video is interrupted for unknown reasons. Would you have stood there until the last and waited for further action? Or would you have decided to make a hasty retreat before anything happened? This video was taken in 2020 over Hungary. Thanks to the high-quality cameras of several drones, we can follow the journey of a cylindrical-shaped flying object. The size, color, and configuration allow us to say that this is not a gadget and not an aircraft of terrestrial origin. Any technique leaves behind a trail of spent fuel, and this cigar flew absolutely clean and silent. And like in a good movie, it developed fantastic speed, abruptly changed trajectory, and disappeared from sight. Really, let's think about it. How fast does it have to be to travel the distance between galaxies? This pilot had to prove his qualifications in a very unusual way. He captured a UFO passing by him on a flight. It may be the best UFO footage you've ever seen and the most challenging proficiency test for a pilot. The bright silver disc circled around the airplane quite calmly and decided to finally crush its nerves when it headed straight under the craft. Its maneuvers are incomprehensible to us, but we managed to see the saucer in all its glory 100%, sparkling like new silver. Another UFO was filmed from an airplane. In the sky over Kansas, it crossed the route of a passenger flight. Since both objects were in motion, we can compare how much faster the unidentified white box was flying. Not all passengers could observe the flying marvel, but it's unlikely it was a drone or some other tracking device. A spy? Maybe, but not an Earth spy. What's your theory? In 2009, a man claimed to have seen a UFO in the skies over Italy. No one took the claim seriously until 10 years later when another eyewitness in the area managed to capture video. The object, which looked like two aluminum plates stacked together, hovered slowly overhead like a hiker lost above a forest. It floated slowly, difficult to track from behind the trees, but it would reappear in the gray sky. Usually, the most spectacular moment is considered the sudden disappearance of such flyers, as if someone blew him off or erased from the screen. By the way, the speed is the reason for distrust of similar videos. This effect is easy to fake in the editor. It's gone. But at least we have a long story to analyze. On February 18, 2024, residents of a place called Lucca in Italy reported seeing a cylindrical object in the sky. The thing hovered over the town, and one lucky resident captured the cylinder on camera, hence the aptly named UFO cigar. Opinions, as always, divided on realistic, pranks, special services, and fantastic, the visit of aliens. One thing brings the opposite hypotheses together. It is espionage. The only question is who is the author of the project, earthly governments or beyond civilizations? What do you think? Feel free to share. That's what the comment section is for. A strange object was seen hovering over New Zealand, and it certainly raised several theories. Some thought it was a secret plane created by intelligence agencies and not yet made public. Others believed it was a giant drone, but sometimes what happens simply has no explanation. An object that looks like an obelisk moves through the air and even hovers in defiance of gravity. Could it even be a glitch in the Matrix or someone's skillful fake? A fresh story published this year. A routine flight where the pilot was capturing the beauty of scenic clouds turned into a shocking UFO video. A swiftly moving, unidentified object flew past the cockpit. It's hard to make out its shape at high speed, but we can slow it down. The pilot claimed it was a ship, not metal debris in the air. I think the shape resembles a stingray. Military pilots have better visibility than passengers on a commercial flight. And when they manage to record a video featuring a UFO, we're incredibly lucky too. Look here. This unidentified flying object became a topic of discussion among UFO enthusiasts. The strange object on the pilot's path maneuvered in ways uncharacteristic of earthly aviation, and although experts aren't sure about the authenticity of this footage, I would say that this is one of the most significant UFO sightings captured in the air. Now, let's see what people filmed during a walk on a Florida beach. A storm was brewing, the sky was gloomy, and twilight was approaching when suddenly, something bright flew through the clouds and lightning. In the video, we can make out a sort of light streak, but its speed suggests that it's not an airplane. Someone online commented that it was a falling star, but we know the time wasn't yet night, and we know the trajectory and altitude of celestial bodies. For a comet or asteroid, the shape is atypical, and the speed of such a smooth flight in gale winds was cosmic. What do you think it was, this streak of light escaping the bad weather? Sometimes the sky itself puts on fantastic shows and displays a remarkable variety of colors and shapes. Over the mountains of central Java in Indonesia, an unusual cloud formation was observed, a dense, elongated wave of white clouds crawling across the sky like the body of a giant snake. Here's another similar scene. Very large, twisted clouds also resemble snakes. But if the comparison seems coincidental in the first clip, here, a storm or tornado is clearly brewing. This clip caused quite a stir among nature lovers. The residents of the Turkish province of Western Bursa observed an unusual cloud. I'd say, a hellishly unusual cloud. The cloud appeared at sunrise and resembled a devil's eye. It stayed there for about an hour, with the sun's rays changing its color from red to pink, then orange and white. The phenomenon not only puzzled the locals, but also confused scientists. Meteorologists' explanations didn't convince the community. People saw a sign of an impending natural disaster in the cloud. During an Air Canada flight from Montreal, a concerning incident occurred. A passenger discovered a wide crack in the window frame, barely holding together. He immediately reported it to a flight attendant, after which the captain inspected it. They decided the issue was minor, and the flight continued without incident. So there's no need to panic. Not all malfunctions require an emergency landing. Now, we'll show you one of the most incredible aviation incidents that happened with the consent of one of the passengers. Asiana Airlines was operating a flight between islands, and no one could have predicted that a man sitting by the emergency exit would suddenly decide to open the door just minutes before landing. Panic broke out among the passengers, but the plane landed safely. The offender was arrested, and charges were filed against him. No one was physically hurt. But surely this flight will be remembered by those people for a long time. You never know who's sitting next to you. Stay vigilant and report any suspicious behavior from other passengers in a timely manner. What are the odds of a passenger plane being struck by lightning? Probably 1 in thousands. But a passenger on this flight managed to capture an amazing, albeit frightening moment. A lightning bolt unexpectedly struck the wing. The electrical discharge shot into the sky like a laser. The plane shook violently, but it wasn't damaged and landed safely. Experts say this phenomenon is quite common and happens surprisingly often. There's no need to worry. Planes are built to withstand such incidents without problems. Don't give in to mass panic. A thunderstorm is not a catastrophe. In June 2019, a passenger on a flight from Puebla, Mexico, captured on camera a magnificent but frightening scene of a volcanic eruption. The pre-sunset sky was painted in shades of pink and blue, and in the middle was a column of ash rising to several thousand meters. When an eruption occurs, it poses a danger to aviation. Ash clogs the engines of the aircraft, and they can stall. Therefore, such phenomena are carefully monitored around the world. The passengers on this flight were incredibly lucky to see the start of an epic natural event from the best vantage point. Let's start with aviation. By itself, it's a miracle we've gotten used to. If you think about it, our ancestors centuries ago could never have imagined that portals for spatial movement would exist. But sometimes situations on board seem mystical, and outside the airplane windows, there's no shortage of wonders. Face to face. That's what this scene is called. It seems absolutely impossible, but the clip was published just a few months ago. Two airplanes are flying dangerously close to each other, creating the illusion that they're stuck in an airstream. You can even make out the pilots in the neighboring flight's cockpit. Of course, the clip quickly went viral. People started wondering what caused this crazy close encounter. Some claimed it was shot for an airline advertisement, but that's cutting it close. Could a company really take such risks for a short video? Everything looks as if the planes narrowly avoided a collision. Consider their cruising speed of 700 kilometers per hour, and you'll realize this was a wildly dangerous race. 1. Another demonstration of the effect of objects frozen in the air. Near the Dallas airport, a driver observed a peculiar sight. A huge airplane seemed to be suspended in the air and had stopped moving. What challenges the laws of gravity always alerts people. We too, as animals, intuitively sense when something's not right. Another similar clip was filmed in northern England. Most likely, the freezing effect was related to the low speed of the airplane, making it look like it was hanging in the air. I'll add that the video doesn't fully convey the amazement you'd feel when observing a massive aircraft hanging motionless, as if time stopped for it. This is that same well-known parallax effect. During a trip to South Korea, a man saw something truly strange from his airplane window. At first, he mistook the approaching object for another airplane, but upon closer inspection, it turned out to be an entire group of flying machines. 6 separate amphibious vehicles suddenly split into pairs and disappeared from sight. The puzzled eyewitness posted the video online, hoping for explanations from the commenters. Can you help? Tourists at a campsite in the Hertfordshire area in Britain witnessed the flight of a mysterious object. It left a long, bright light behind in the sky. The unknown glowing object moved in a strange manner. It would dip down, then soar up into the sky and suddenly disappear. It's hard to explain. This doesn't look like a piece of an asteroid falling to Earth or part of a rocket. It's hard to believe it was the crash of an alien ship. So many insisted it wasn't a UFO, but a private plane trick. What do you think? In 2019, a car driver witnessed a stunning show. The weather was bad. Lightning was slashing through the sky, and he decided to film a couple to show at home what he had to drive through. He grabbed his phone at just the right moment. Suddenly, the sky lit up with such a lightning strike that even a movie couldn't have created it. On purpose. Everything around was under the power of the most powerful lightning. It spread across the entire sky with such fury as if it wanted to tear the night apart. Thunderstorms, thunder, and lightning are terrifying phenomena, but if you love watching them, you've probably also seen red lightning. While we get used to white flashes throughout our lives, rarer red ones somehow scare us more. In this video, red flashes alarmed people in Oklahoma. Though experts explain that red light is caused by positively charged electrical discharges, while bright white lightning is formed by negative charges. But somehow, in red lightning, we see something more than just part of a storm, of a eddy. Istahemao, Pradata. The observation of a celestial event during a flight was recorded at an altitude of 11 kilometers. Here are rare shots of the last lunar eclipse of 2022. Although it can be seen quite often from the ground, this is the first video where a passenger was able to capture the rare sight at an altitude of several thousand meters above the Earth. The footage was recorded at the moment when the moon passed between the sun and the Earth. It partially eclipsed the sun's disk with its shadow. The passenger must have had an unusual experience from this aerial theater. The flight was worth the money. A mysterious red glow in the sky over the Pacific Ocean was noticed by pilots, and this video caught the attention of internet observers. They considered the light to be proof of extraterrestrial life, but experts provided a disappointing real explanation for the red sky. It was just a colored spot caused by a cluster of red LED lights used by fishing trawlers to lure a certain type of fish. So, the red light isn't necessarily for attracting Martians. Sometimes identified but unexpected flying objects are encountered in the air. It's good if they aren't so dangerous. On May 27, 2021, during a 15-hour flight from India, passengers saw a bat flying chaotically in the cabin. Everyone on board was terrified because its flight was erratic and didn't inspire optimism. What if it decides to cling to your head? Worse yet, it wasn't just a bat, but rather an Indian flying fox, much larger and scarier in appearance. Passengers were instructed to remain calm and vigilant until the plane made an emergency landing. The stowaway was removed from the flight. It's unknown how the animal got inside the airplane, but fortunately, no one was hurt. Sometimes earthly flying objects collide in the air. During a passenger flight from New York in June 2015, a passenger captured an amazing moment. A drone collided with the plane's wing and broke off the edge. The video caused a huge uproar. It became clear that drone flights create potential dangers for commercial aviation. But as realistic as the plot seemed, it turned out that it was created using special effects. A super fake that was meant to illustrate situations that drone flights might cause on airplane paths. What a visualization. Do you like it? Imagine you're sitting in your airplane seat, and suddenly there's a deafening crack, and you're already in flight. On a Southwest Airlines flight from Chicago to New Jersey, just 30 minutes after takeoff, the outer window pane suddenly cracked. A passenger's camera captured this nightmare. Panic ensued in the cabin. However, the pilots directed the plane to Cleveland and made a safe landing, and the cause of the broken window was unexpected, strong turbulence. So I advise you to heed the captain's instruction to fasten your seatbelts. In November 2020, a mysterious guy with a jetpack flew in front of a private airplane near Los Angeles airport, and the FBI launched an investigation. Many reported the strange sighting. Later, they concluded that the mysterious object was a hoax, quite literally. Specifically, a life-size human figure balloon could have flown close to the airplane. The jetpack tourist caused disruptions in the air traffic of one of the world's busiest airports. And now we can see who might have caused the stir. Would you say it was a bad joke or sabotage? Do you believe that angels exist and that they can be caught on camera? Check out this footage from an airplane passenger who was admiring the sky. In early 2020, something strange was happening to all of us, but seeing a group of white figures in the sky, the person immediately began filming. Standing right in the heavens, the white beings seemed to be on a morning walk. Naturally, one might think that this is exactly what angels should look like, and they are supposed to reside somewhere. I would suspect that I'm going crazy if I saw something like this. Would you be thrilled? What if it was a secret council where angels were coming up with a plan to save the world from the pandemic? A female airplane passenger saw a strange object from her window. It left a black trail behind, like a ghost. The object looked frightening, like a flying demon from Harry Potter, and things probably weren't going according to plan. Could it have been an alien spacecraft or a mysterious Dementor? The passenger couldn't explain and posted the video online. 1. This video was shot last year. Also, through an airplane window, we observe a strange cylindrical object accompanying the flight over the mountains. The thing, resembling a tic-tac pill, moved chaotically and very quickly, then made a complete 360-degree turn. The UFO baffled the flight's passengers, but what puzzles me is the strange blur when it moves through the air. Hello, do we have any experts? Please clarify in the comments. Remember I mentioned Jesus Christ in the sky? There have been many such cases, so let's take a look at 20 of the most incredible appearances of Jesus Christ in the sky. What people captured on camera, in photos, or described in words can be questioned, but when an unusual phenomenon happens live, it is pointless to deny it. Most often, technical glitches occur during recordings or unplanned guests enter the frame. However, this incident stands out among others as truly extraordinary. Imagine if you were reporting the news, and suddenly the tranquil forest behind you began to shine like the Star of Bethlehem. The camera lingered on the peaceful landscape, but the operator could no longer take the camera away from the bright, shimmering light. It gently floated in the air and transformed. At first, it seemed like a large lens was reflecting, but the play of light continued for a long time. Viewers from their homes also watched in amazement as the ethereal glow spread on the screen. Although the light did not seem ominous or aggressive, on the contrary, its presence was both calming and confusing. Usually, people immediately suspect that this behavior is that of a UFO, but in this case, hypotheses among believers emerged. They called the glowing phenomenon an angel. It is quite strange that a heavenly being decided to take part in a television broadcast. But as we know, the ways of divine providence are inscrutable, and people can feel the mood. In this case, nature manifested a benevolent presence. In the quiet countryside of Ohio, there is a plant that processes soybeans. In 1986, it became famous across the country in a matter of days, but not because of its hard work. Among the locals, it was reported that an image of Christ appeared on one of the new storage tanks for soybean oil. In the era before social media, only television could turn a rumor into a sensation, but this time, the information spread among people like wildfire. Sufferers from all over the world rushed here to witness the miracle. In fact, the magical phenomenon occurred after sunset, when the pink rays of the sun and then the moon illuminated the tank. A glowing, warm light silhouette of Jesus in a robe, accompanied by a small child, unmistakably emerged. Hundreds of people gathered on the grass to watch the night show, and soon traffic jams stretched for several miles along the highway. Those wishing to at least catch a glimpse of the miracle at sunset never ceased. But none of them seemed to ask why the Son of God decided to appear on an industrial soybean oil tank. Maybe they just could not decipher this message. In the field of religion, mystifications often occurred, as this is a good way to influence the congregation. However, in our time, there is no great need for this because people come to faith voluntarily and consciously. Although miracles have not stopped. What would you feel if you saw a weeping statue of the Virgin Mary? The most mysterious thing is that such incidents happened in various places, separated by time and distance, but they invariably left an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of those who witnessed them. In a small church in New Mexico, a statue of the Virgin Mary, known as Our Lady of Guadalupe, unexpectedly wept, with her tears resembling liquid oil. It turned out that the substance actually consisted of a mixture of olive oil and perfume. It was the oil for holy anointing used in the Catholic Church. Rumors of the weeping statue phenomenon spread throughout the area, and the church became a magnet for believers from different walks of life. They flocked here for blessings. Meanwhile, many witnesses reported feeling a sense of deep peace and spiritual connection in the presence of the weeping Mary. Yes, it seems the power of faith in the face of the unexplained increases miraculously. Meanwhile, in another Mexican town of El Canal, tears were also seen flowing down the face of a statue of the Virgin, and moreover, her eyes seemed to be red. Local residents interpreted those tears as a sign of divine intervention, a call for peace in a society that led a life full of violence and unrest. A morning walk can bring you a grand discovery. Here is the story. A resident of Virginia named Shale loved to choose new routes for her runs. And one morning, she was running along a trail near Blackwater Creek, close to Liberty University. On the way, the woman noticed a large rock, and approaching closer, she discovered incredible outlines on it. The rocks protruded from the rocky wall in the shape of a panel. It felt like someone had engraved the image of Jesus in the rock. Shale was so moved by this discovery that she decided to share it with others. She recorded a video on her phone and maximally zoomed in on the image. As she later told local news channels during her morning walks, she loved to listen to spiritual music. As we can see, if you praise it out on the way, you can find a reward. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, when the world was grappling with fear and uncertainty, a small town in Colombia found itself at the center of an exceptional incident. The country was under strict quarantine, but the town's residents noticed very strange changes. The branches of a tall tree had miraculously transformed into the image of Jesus Christ, crucified on the cross. Their shape completely repeated the outlines, and the bark's color resembled the depiction of a pale figure. Soon, skepticism gave way to amazement, and despite the government's order to stay home, hundreds of people could not resist the attraction of this miracle. They flocked to the site like pilgrims, hoping to find solace and to pray for those whose lives were taken by the virus. They brought candles and offerings, but the sign disappeared after a few days. The tree became ordinary, and the picture seemed to dissolve. No one tried to explain this phenomenon, probably not wanting to find a material reason, because in such dramatic moments of life, a miracle is exactly what everyone needs. In memory of the tragic events of September 11th in New York, an unusual memorial was erected. Two powerful beams of light soared into the sky, repeating the silhouettes of the destroyed Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. The memorial has since served as a memory of those who died on that fateful day and a comfort to the huge number of people who lost loved ones. On the anniversary of the tragedy, a man stood on the shore of the Hudson Bay, and his camera was pointed at the beams of light. He wanted to shoot a memorial video. Suddenly, he noticed something at the top of the beams. On one of them, it seemed, a bright figure stood right in the night air. This defied explanation, but the silhouette resembled Christ. It seemed to hover above the river, as if conveying a sign of blessing. The image quickly spread on social networks and resonated in the hearts of people around the world. It is impossible to express the grief of such a scale, but it turns out there is a way to find a sense of peace even after a terrible disaster. If the relatives of those who died in it felt even for a moment that they were not alone in their grief, then we all should believe in miracles. Now let's move on to material evidence. They can appear in the form of images on the most surprising mediums. In the arid desert of Israel, a group of archaeologists from the University of Haifa made a revolutionary discovery that will shed new light on the early days of Christianity. The specialists had no idea that their excavations would lead to an extraordinary find. Despite the fact that the Holy Land is the birthplace of Christianity, early Christian art has not stood the test of time. There are not many testimonies and artifacts in the region. However, when the archaeologists discovered the remains of an ancient village, they stumbled upon a sample of wall painting that miraculously survived through the centuries. The image adorned the ceiling of a baptismal font, which was built around 350 years AD in the Negev desert. After restoring the painting, historians were sure that before them was none other than an image of Christ. It must be said that his portrait was noticeably different from the traditional image that has taken root in our consciousness. Instead of long, loose hair and a beard, the painting showed a man with short, curly hair, an elongated face, and a long nose. This unique testimony provided us with a rare opportunity to look into the beginning of our era and understand how early Christians visualized the Savior. Natural material can also serve as a divine canvas. After a devastating landslide that hit the town of Putumayo in Colombia in 2015, residents faced chaos and hardships. Many homes were destroyed, lives were turned upside down, and the once familiar landscape changed forever. But among the rubble and debris, the locals noticed something unusual. The layer of earth that slid down revealed a strange picture. It seemed that the forces of nature created a sculpture that was a spitting image of the portrait of Jesus Christ. Rumors of the incredible sight quickly spread throughout the community, and soon hundreds of people began to flock to the landslide to see the divine face. It is amazing when such a work of art is made only of layers of soil. It is clear that the human imagination tends to complete any portrait, but in this case, it is completely symmetrical on both sides and needs no explanation as to whom it depicts. After all, you also guessed immediately. This is how a landslide created a new icon. Have you ever wondered how angels travel between heaven and earth? This question has been raised by humanity for centuries, although no single answer has been found. Nevertheless, there is a delightful concept known as the angelic canon, which offers us an explanation of this divine mystery. No, of course, this is not a special canon that serves as a heavenly catapult. The angelic canon refers to a beam of light in which an angel travels. The speed of light, as we know, has not yet been surpassed, and therefore angels can move as fast as they want, remaining unnoticed by human eyes. It is logical to assume that they do not want to be seen and therefore either surround themselves with dazzling light or simply move very quickly, performing their heavenly duties on earth. So even divine beings need caution. Perhaps the news reporters were just witnessing the arrival of an angel. What do you think? Do not hesitate to comment on the video. Let's discuss everything. An angel is not necessarily a fluffy figure with wings. In the small American town of Camden South in the state of South Carolina, an extraordinary spectacle appeared before the eyes of ordinary people. High in the sky, a formation manifested unlike any cloud that had floated here before. Its outlines and colors were so striking that it seemed as if it was intentionally created, and the shape resembled a winged angel. The phenomenon captivated everyone who was lucky enough to see it against the backdrop of the clear blue sky. This sight, apart from its unnatural beauty, conveyed a sense of peace and grace. It was so clear, as if sculpted by an invisible hand. A realist suggested that the angelic shape could have been given by the trails of a passing airplane. I think this opinion was quickly overshadowed by supporters of divine phenomena. Few want to be disappointed by the words, "Miracles do not happen." What would you do? Agree to think that this is a mirage or accept it on faith? Sometimes the heavens want to clearly convey something to us and draw specific outlines in the sky. You have probably heard that in South America there are many very devout Christians. And if something grand happens in terms of divine phenomena, few doubt these messages. People willingly accept good signs as direct communication. In the bustling Argentine city of San Salvador, a woman named Monica received an unexpected blessing from above. Looking at the clear blue sky, she could not believe her eyes. Right in front of her was a supernatural cloud. It so resembled the figure of Jesus that it moved her to tears. Monica grabbed her phone and filmed the phenomenon. Deep down, she felt that this was more than just a cloud. She sensed a reminder in it that God always watches over his children. When Monica shared the image online, the photo quickly gained popularity, enchanting people around the world. Some noted the resemblance between the cloud and the iconic statue of Christ that guards Rio de Janeiro. Perhaps Not only for Monica, but for many others, this photo served as a source of comfort and inspiration. After all, it is pleasant to know that you are cared for by the forces you believe in. In the picturesque coastal town of Italy, a man named Alfredo captured a moment of divine beauty. At sunset, a heavenly phenomenon very reminiscent of the statue of Christ appeared over the sea. The sun's rays cast a glowing shadow on the entire cloud, and it looked like a figure with outstretched arms walking on the sea. The supernatural likeness of Jesus Christ hypnotized the witness, and he decided to photograph it, feeling an irresistible desire to share this delight with others. Many who commented on the photo on social media also noted its striking resemblance to the iconic statue of the Savior in Rio de Janeiro. However, upon closer inspection, keen observers noted that the figure in the clouds seemed to be wearing something like a crown on its head. Or maybe it was a crown of thorns? Nevertheless, such clouds are not seen every day, and even if you do not associate its outlines with a specific figure, it is still a divinely beautiful sight. Now let's see how similar cloud figures travel around the world. Once in a small town in Indonesia, residents broke away from their routine to stand and watch the sky. What made them drop everything? There stood a cloud in the sky. It stood because it was also a vertical figure, resembling the silhouette of Christ. The news quickly spread throughout the area. People ran out onto the streets to not miss the wonderful phenomenon. Social networks were soon filled with amazing photos and videos. Everyone wanted to share their amazement with friends around the world. The sun's rays cast an unreal light on the cloud formation, and from this, it seemed to radiate a feeling of reverence. Even if there are few Christians among Indonesians, everyone felt a divine intervention in their daily lives. Perhaps such clouds are easier to form over the ocean if you want some explanations. That is why the cloud Jesus appeared not in his country. Let's move next door. We have already talked about the Philippines. It is a very unusual place. A Filipino woman, a video blogger, intended to shoot her hometown, and she had no idea that she might witness something unusual. When the sun peeked out from behind the clouds, it illuminated a tall structure in the sky that also had a supernatural resemblance to the figure of Jesus. It feels like there is a certain pattern in nature, cloud Jesus. So similar are several phenomena in different parts of the planet. This special sight was hidden from view by cloudy weather, and if it were not for the last rays before sunset, even the camera would not have captured the cloud Christ. The image was so clear and amazingly detailed that nothing needed to be added. The blogger immediately shared the material obtained so that other people could also appreciate its beauty and be inspired. I must say, it is indeed impressive and certainly not a fake, because nature cannot be faked. A camera can see more than our eyes, and some supernatural things seem to work specifically for the camera. This happened in 1993 in the Bulgarian capital, Sofia. Not so long ago, the Iron Curtain had fallen, and after the collapse of the Soviet Union, fraternal socialist Bulgaria was going through tough times. An American Christian mission headed to Sofia to conduct services in cathedrals, and during the ceremony, a woman from the congregation cried out that she saw a figure of a man standing next to her who looked like Jesus. You ask, what is so special about that? Some believers can be so impressed by church singing, but the thing is, this woman was blind from birth. The congregation was stunned. The service continued with renewed vigor, and everyone thanked God for the extraordinary vision. However, the real surprise happened later when the American missionaries reviewed the footage they had recorded for their report. They watched the video already in America, and there, quite clearly, in front of the crowd, stood a tall man with long hair and a beard, dressed in white, strikingly similar to the traditional image of Jesus. For some reason, no one in the church saw him except the blind woman. How wonderfully he let his presence be known so as not to cause panic, but to be completely convincing. It is amazing how wise the divine forces are and how carefully they treat our psyche. I think this information helped the missionaries attract even more believers, since they had such indisputable evidence of the approval of their activities. Divine forces can penetrate everywhere and affect all our senses. Would you like to hear the real voice of Jesus? Although we may never know its exact sound, one significant event suggests that his words can still reach us. On the 11th of September, 1999, something extraordinary happened. During a large religious event in New York, hundreds of believers from all over the world gathered. Right in the middle of the Mass in the church, at the moment when the priest, Father Gerard, lifted the chalice for consecration, something incredible happened. His voice suddenly changed its timbre. It became deep and powerful to such an extent that it caused shivers in the congregation. They felt that the next words were spoken by someone else. And this happened twice during the prayer. He also proclaimed, "My body will be given to you." This had a stunning effect on the audience. Everyone believed they were witnessing the true manifestation of Christ, who spoke to them through the priest. It seemed as if he momentarily occupied his body to deliver a powerful message of faith and reverence. The atmosphere in the church was electrified with energy, and people's emotions were a mixture of shock and deep devotion. Agree, in such moments it becomes frightening. I have come to the impression that most unexplained phenomena occur precisely in Mexico. Now we will talk about paranormal events. The Santo Cristo de la Capilla Chapel in Mexico became famous for an extraordinary event from the realm of the fantastic. This video recording in June 2016 shocked the whole world. The statue of Jesus opened its eyes, literally, for a few seconds. Can you believe it? The witness did not notice this at the time of filming. Only upon reviewing the recording later did he nearly faint from shock. To assess the authenticity of the video, 20 experts were invited, and none found traces of graphics or editing. The town went into a frenzy. The video gained views on the internet, and a self-proclaimed paranormal expert named Ivan Escamilla claimed it was authentic. Church officials reacted to the video as a provocation and refused to support the proponents of the miracle that occurred. Be that as it may, there is something inexplicably intriguing about this plot that makes you watch it over and over again. If we assume that this is how we are pointed to the beginning of the end times, then it can be deciphered this way. When the devil can take hold of the minds of even believers, the world is destined to soon plunge into darkness. This mystery from 1992, archives of paranormal phenomena have been preserved, but to this day, experts have not explained the mysterious incident that took place in the pre-computer era. As you know, during religious ceremonies, various mishaps occurred. Something could go wrong or fall. As we have already learned, inanimate objects can show signs of life. Statues cry or open their eyes. In this plot, something more frightening happened. A statue of Jesus, lying in a tomb, is itself a lifeless object. However, what happened next defies explanation and sends shivers down the spine. The camera zoomed in, and suddenly, the head of the statue began to smoothly rise. This was confirmed by the person who shot the video. He saw it himself. There were no illusions. Naturally, many tried to debunk the movement as a hoax or a carefully thought-out prank, but no one could give a satisfactory explanation for the eerie movements of the statue. As a result, it was concluded that it was either indeed a paranormal phenomenon, where some supernatural forces challenge the laws of nature, or the work of an experienced animatronic specialist. Let me remind you that the technology needed to create such a convincing special effect would be far beyond the available methods in 1992. There is another story with the appearance of the figure of Jesus in the clouds. This time, it was not just a cloud, but a whole rescue mission. Yes, there is a photograph that supposedly depicts Jesus Christ. He appeared in the sky before a distressed airplane. The photo was taken by a passenger during a turbulent flight in a storm. and it became a symbol of hope and faith for many who fear flying. At some point, the plane shook violently, and fear gripped the passengers. Among the general panic, one elderly lady sitting by the window stood out. Her head was bowed in prayer. Soon, people from neighboring seats joined her, and gradually prayers filled the entire cabin. Soon, the turbulence subsided, although the storm was still raging. But it seemed that through their collective efforts, they managed to overcome fear and despair and find miraculous salvation. Later, when the passenger developed the photographs of the stormy sky, it turned out that the true scale of the miracle was revealed only there. Among the darkness and lightning, in the sky stood the unmistakable figure of a man in a white robe, whose hair flowed in the wind, and whose face radiated calm and compassion. It seems that the lady who started praying first saw him and understood that the figure appeared before them for a reason. On the 15th of April, 2019, the world watched in horror as the cultural catastrophe of the century unfolded. The precious Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris was engulfed in flames. This fire caused enormous damage to the historical heritage of civilization and left people around the world with a sense of loss and despair. After the destruction, restoration work began, and then, upon entering, the workers noticed something remarkable. Among the charred ruins, the altar and cross, miraculously, remained intact. This sight shocked everyone, and many took it as a sign of divine intervention. As soon as the information began to penetrate the networks, a woman named Leslie Rowan provided her proof of divine presence. At that moment, she was near Notre Dame de Paris, and in the footage she took during the fire, a figure of Jesus Christ appeared right in the flames, seemingly addressing people with sadness and compassion. Leslie's revelation sparked a wave of intense discussion. Skeptics attributed the image to a play of light or visual illusion, but many were convinced that Jesus revealed his presence to comfort Parisians in this sorrowful moment. These unusual objects sometimes appear in the sky, and with that, our hour-long episode is coming to an end. If you enjoyed it and want to see the next part or something similar, please let us know in the comments. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and right now, write the keyword rocket in the comments so I know you watched all the way to the end. Thank you all for watching, and next up, check out one of the 2 new videos.